This video was recorded in front of a live virtual audience. Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today we're going to be talking about bags, new versus vintage or secondhand, because not every bag that is used is 20 years old or plus, which would define it a vintage. What's better? Buying new, in particular luxury bags. Okay, we're going to focus on luxury bags. Like, because as I was analyzing this process, if you're going to go in a store that sells non-luxury bags that are in a $20, $30 range, you might think that's affordable. I'll just buy it if I like the bag, you know. But if we're going in that context of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per bag, at that point, is it better to buy it new, or is it better to hunt down similar something or that brand used or vintage? That's the topic today. We're going to try to assess the situation together, and we're going to really dissect it, and we're going to try to touch base on points that usually don't get touched base upon in other videos from other people on the luxury platform. So as you may. So anyway, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thumb up this video. You know, let the girl know and the YouTubes know that we're doing something right here. You can also push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today. You can also join me on Patreon, superdacob all spelled together. Gain access to extra perks. Thank you to my members and patrons who have already pledged. Thank you to all my co-chatters who are live right now in the chats. I do live stream every Saturday. Everybody's welcome to join the live stream every Saturday. That's where we get to converse a lot. So thank you guys so much for being here. Air conditioning is blowing in the back of my head, so the hair is kind of fluffing up. Sorry for that. Gwen says, we are in 2021, so vintage is now 2001. OMG. Yes. Yes. 2001 is vintage. 2001 is vintage by now. I mean, it's crazy. You know, because vintage comes from venti. Venti means 20 in Italian or from Latin. So that's why 20 is that cutoff point for vintage. Because venti, it comes from 20. So so it's not like we can change the concept of what is vintage. Oh, let's call it 30 years something vintage. That would be a trintage or something like that. But so here's my experience thus far, and I want to hear from you in the chats as well. And posthumously, after this video has been shot, I would also love to hear from you guys. My hair is such a mess still, even though I fixed it. I would love to hear from you guys. Oh my God, this is so insane. Hold on, where's my Chrome? I would like to hear from you guys also in the comments section down below, which you think is better, whether it be vintage or new, used or new. So my personal experience is this. Sometimes I gotta say I do prefer new. Sometimes I prefer used. Usually I prefer used when there is a particular model of bag that I really love that's no longer in production. But that's a cop-out, because technically you have no choice. You can either buy it used or you can't buy it at all, right? But same applies vice versa. Some bags are not really available used for a much lower price as opposed to new. Some bags just came out on the market for the first time ever, and you can't buy its counterpart used from a year or two ago or 10 years ago. So it's always difficult to kind of figure, this hair. Do you see this? Oh my God, it's so irritating. So, talking about this bag, we get the Timeless Classic single flap pouch. Now, clutch. Okay, we're gonna just put the hair behind the ear. How about we put the hair behind the ear? There you go. Finally. Such a nuisance. So we're talking about this one. Now, this one has been out for a couple of seasons. You might be able to hunt it down used, but here's the twist. Usually used costs the same as new, if not a bit more. Unfortunately, they went through yet another price increase. So here we get to the first point, price increases. Most luxury brands, if we're talking about luxury bags, when they get to that level, we're talking Louis, we're talking Dior, we're talking Hermes, we're talking Chanel for the most part. Yves Saint Laurent has been doing it lately as well, so has Celine. All of them. They keep marking up their prices. So technically, the second-hand market runs behind them, so they also up a price when they up a price. So if they have upped the price, the secondhand market will follow. And they have just upped the price of this one just a month or two ago. So unfortunately, because I mean, it's insane. So then you think, oh gosh, they've just outpriced themselves out of the market. Let me hunt down a used one. And then you start realizing, oh, depending on how coveted and limited edition and beloved or researched the bag was, sometimes secondhand market can cost you even more than new in store. We see that with the Birkins and the Kellys. For the most part, a Birkin and a Kelly are going to cost you more sourced secondhand, doesn't matter if it's vintage or not, as opposed to buying it new in the store. Granted, they offer you to purchase one. Similar is starting to happen with Chanel. We are experiencing, you know, the whole FOMO situation of the mermaid bag, the unicorn bags, the special research sought after bags of the season, that might be timeless classics in a way, but have a seasonal color, a seasonal shape, not a seasonal shape, seasonal material, seasonal color. So, you know, we have the 255 mermaid skin unicorn mini, which was also made as a double flap, but nobody cared for that when everybody wanted the mini. I guess because it was also cheaper than the double flap version from a couple of métiers d'art ago. Cost way more secondhand than it did new. Now maybe the market is mellowing down a little bit. Because why? Because we're noticing that as time passes, more and more of these releases happen where these bags are like, this hair, you know what? I'm just going to end up cutting it off at a certain point. Then what's going to happen? So we have this issue of more and more of these collections keep popping out, and the more they pop up and the less we kind of are still obsessing over the seasons past. And this is also something that we're experiencing relatively new now, maybe because partially of the lockdown, but also partially because of the amount of new seasons coming up, that we're getting a little bit tired of it. So after Karl Lagerfeld, in particular with Chanel, passed away, and then there was this kind of transition into a lot of people maybe were not into the clothes anymore that Virginie was doing, but more so into the bags. And when it comes to the bags, nobody really wanted the seasonal bags as much. Everybody's going for the classics, mostly minis. But the time of the minis is passing. Time of these micro nano bags, it's still there, but people are I'm getting tired of it, that's for sure. And so there's been this huge focus also during the lockdown where people were bored, didn't know what to do with themselves, and you just buy these bags and stuff, you know, that you don't even really use because you are in lockdown. But there's been this craze of hunting and jumping onto the next best thing every season. And so you want to get it in the boutique. You want to be on that special wait list, reserved list, so that you get offered to buy these little bags, because if not, secondhand, they're going to cost you double or triple. But if you wait a little, my experience is some of the times the Chanel boutique, then, you know, 2 months after the release, all of a sudden the little bag pops up again and they have it after all. So there's that. Always keep asking. But also they do that because after 2 months, they're already releasing the new collection. Because, you know, Chanel does like 10 collections a year now. So they keep churning out new stuff, and people keep kind of FOMOing about the newest pieces, and it's so really sad and just totally has nothing to do with sustainability, because people just don't want anymore anything that's 2 months old. And we're getting to a point where it's hysterically a lot, to a point where if a brand like that doesn't sell out immediately of those special pieces, then they're going to be sitting on them. They won't be able to sell them later because they've created the monster. They keep bringing out new collections every 2 months. So in a way, they are feeding into this frenzy and this craze, but they're also biting themselves in the leg or in the tail, because they hinder the time that the customers might need to get acquainted with a collection. You don't even have time to get used to a collection. There's already a new one popping out. So there's that issue, which brings me to a point of saying I do prefer buying secondhand in this case. Why? Because buying secondhand in this case means that you actually don't have to rush. You don't have to rush. You don't have to rush, because maybe you discover a bag you really like that's 4 months old. That's already 2 collections ago in Chanel terms. Fine. Chanel doesn't have it anymore, maybe because it's 2 seasons old. But because they're already 2 seasons ahead, people are hunting down the next best thing. So chances are that that bag that you like that's 2 seasons old, you're going to find it for a better price secondhand because maybe nobody wants it anymore. So in that case, I think these brands are rushing themselves towards a wall, and they're going to hit that wall, and they're going to hit it hard. And it's going to be really irritating for them because they can't keep up with their own production anymore. What are they going to start doing? 1 collection a week? There's going to be a new bag release every week? Probably will be. Why am I saying this? Because the sneaker market, we've seen this happen to the sneaker market just a few years ago, before the lockdown. 2015, 16, 17, 18, those were the kind of the prime time of the Yeezys. That's when it all happened. The sneakerheads went berserks and bananas. We have seen incremental launches of sneakers, first on a quarter basis, monthly basis, weekly basis. When they started hitting launches on a weekly basis, you know it's over. The game is over. The game is over because, first of all, not every kid out there is going to have the money to buy a sneaker every week, or 2 or 3 new launches every week. Every brand has its own launches. Sneakerheads have to collect all of them, have to rush to get them, have to resell them, make a profit to buy more, feed into this monster mechanism. At a certain point, the market is so saturated, people it gets boring. People get really bored. So that's why I'm seeing this tendency of a turnover in terms of, yes, I love the experience of buying new in a boutique. If you have that money, you go to your Disneyland, you go to the boutique, you get the full experience. You know it's authentic because you're buying it. You hope it's authentic. You're buying it there. They're giving you everything. Maybe even a drink if they're allowed to offer you a drink during lockdown, blah, blah, blah. And then you go home and you have this new piece and it's brand new for you, just for you. Even though it's never really brand new, unless your sales associate doesn't say, hey, this just arrived from the factory. No, new piece, nobody touched it. It's just for you. Otherwise, could be a return item, could be an item that was sitting on the floor. I mean, in the actual shop as a display piece. Could be something that a lot of people already had through their hands, touched it, decided not to buy it, and then you get. So what is new, really? Really, nothing is really new. Everything has been touched, and I mean, when I bought this bag, knew it had all its stickers on and everything, but still, somebody produced it, somebody had to manufacture it, somebody in the factory touched it. It wasn't that new after all. So there's all that to consider as well. It's a notion of us thinking that it's brand new because we get it in the boutique, but can you trust your sales associate when they tell you that nobody touched that bag before you? Now, this brings me to another point. A lot of these brands have, my earring fell off. I'm a total mess today. Some of these brands have like seasonal pieces that they don't sell. They don't have them exhibited anymore on the sales floor because already 2 or 3 seasons have passed, but they haven't sent them back to the warehouses yet. So if you know exactly what product number you're looking for of bag, they might still have it in stock. And when it comes to certain luxury brands, the prices haven't gone up for certain seasonal pieces, and you might just be lucky that 2 years after a bag was released, you still find it if you ask your sales associate for a product number, specific product number of a specific bag you want, and they have it. They have it in stock for you, or they could source it out from another boutique. Yes, by then, if the bag has been in some stock for 2 years, you can't technically call it new anymore, but the brand still calls it new. They sell it to you for the full price. Maybe without the price increase because certain seasonal pieces don't go up in price, but they still sell it to you as new. They don't go down in price with that bag just because it's been in their stock for 2 years. So technically, to me, a bag that's already 2 years old, sold to you from the boutique, that bag is technically used. It hasn't, because, why am I saying used? I have certain bags that I bought for my collection. I never wore them. I buy them. I look at them, I preserve them pristinely. They're locked in their protective case, box. I just love to know I have them. So 2 years pass, what, is that bag used? I can assure you that bag is less used than the one that was in the back room of Chanel in their stock room being shifted around for 2 years left and right. They're going to sell it to you still for the full price as if it were new. No, it's used. Something sticks around in your stock room for 2 years, it's used. Bottom line. So you see the conversation to be had here. What is new and what is actually used, really? We're not even touching base on vintage here yet, but what is better? Because that's what this video is about. Like, And I'm telling you, the more time passes and the more we're used to luxury and the more we're used to conversing and talking about luxury together, like on YouTube, like on this platform, like here now, and the more we realize, hold on a minute, new doesn't always mean new, and used doesn't always mean used. Because as I said, I have bags that I have bought pristine from the boutique new, and I keep them in their box. It's just for my heart. Okay. 2 years past, that thing is still pristine, but I have to legally say it's used. The boutique doesn't have to say that their bag that was in their stock for 2 years is used. They don't have to say that. They don't have to tell you anything. They're selling it to you as new. Very shifty, all these versions. And then we also come to another point, which is, as I said at the beginning of the video, certain shapes and forms of bags are not in production anymore. So of course you have to resort to use. But what happens when a brand brings back a certain style after the style has been discontinued for many years, brings it back for a huge marked up price, lowering the DNA value of that bag, and asks a lot of money for it? What do you do then? For some of you might guess what example I'm talking about. This is the saddlebag from John Galliano. This is from his era, by the way. This is the John Galliano for Dior era. So this bag is from that time, from the early 2000s, okay? Now, I got this one when nobody cared for saddlebags anymore. I got this one for so cheap. And I told you all when I got this bag, I was like, I have a sneaky suspicion it's going to be coming back. 1 or 2 years later, it exponentially came back, and of course secondhand skyrocketed the prices. But I'm going to tell you this, out of principle, I would still prefer to hunt down a used saddlebag by John Galliano for Dior rather than buying the crap that Maria Grazia Chiuri and Co are churning out today, because they're just copying his concept. This is the original, everything else is a copy. So in this case, I would prefer, out of principle, because also I do not like at all how Dior dealt with John Galliano. I would buy this one any day rather than buying a new saddlebag. So there's this other factor that we add to the equation, which is principle. You know what I mean? Some sort of principle. Now, I know a lot of people fall victim to trends. You know, there's a lot of these wannabe influencers out there. Oh, the shade we could throw, you know. Anyway. Oh, I'm so tempted. But anyway, you know, they're gonna, and the type of people that 6-7 years ago made fun of whoever bought a saddlebag before they came back, right? And now these Oompa Loompas are actually buying the saddlebags and saying, oh my God, this is so amazing. I just did another unboxing of another saddlebag. I'm like, girl, I've been around the block a couple of times. I see you. I know who you are. I know the type of jokes you made about people who used to love the John Galliano saddlebags, and now all of a sudden that they're kind of back, you bought one from the boutique because you're a loser, total victim. And now all of a sudden you're starting your saddlebag like you never said what you said a couple of years ago. We got the receipts, boo-boo. But that's a whole other can of worms. But I'm just saying, there are instances and cases where you should go, not necessarily for vintage, because this one, technically, it's vintage-ish. I think this particular one was 2002 or 3. So this one, oh my God, this one might turn vintage next year. I don't know how old this one exactly is, because it does have its authenticity number. But actually, you know what? This one actually even, I think, has its authenticity card still there. Maybe. Yeah, it does. Let's see, what year. Is this one vintage already? 2003. And I have to cover its authenticity number. I can only show you the beginning. So this is an authenticity card from 2003, Christian Dior. And this kind of begins the number there, but I'm covering up part of the number. So this one was purchased on the 12th of July of 2003. So it's not vintage yet, but it's used. it's used and it's in pristine condition. It still has all its little paperwork with it, the stamp, the store it was purchased in, even super cute. Anyway, so you know, I would go for a bag like this, used, any day. Prefer that to the new ones. They also made different sizes back then, because for those of you coming from me saying, but you know, they make them also bigger today. Yeah, they made them bigger back then too. There's no excuse. Now, another instance is, I know this is technically just a Poche Toilette, right? But you know, I love my Poche Toilettes from Louis. This, out of, again, a bag like this, you might also consider not wanting to buy it used because it is a toiletry pouch. So you might think out of hygienic reasons, you want to buy it new. You don't want to buy something that somebody has had their condoms in there, whatever, for years and years and years, and then they're selling it to you. You might think in that case, maybe buying something like this is better buying new than used, or even vintage for that matter. Unless, of course, somebody were auctioning off Lady Diana's own toiletry pouch 26. We've all seen her photographed with her toiletry pouch 26 as she's leaving the yacht. Then I would say definitely buy it used, buy Diana's toiletry pouch if it ever goes for sale. But otherwise, this is an example where I would personally say I would buy it new. Then, of course, we have another example, which is bags that were made by brands that no longer exist. Of course, there, you might think, well, you know, if you know the brand, if you still love that brand, you hunt down the old pieces, the used pieces, the vintage pieces. But otherwise, these brands are going to fade into being completely forgotten. Here's an example I have for you guys, and that would be this gorgeous vintage. This one is from the 90s, okay. It's a very hard leather. It is a Christian Lacroix bucket bag. It's so bizarre. Look how beautifully made it is. This thing is insane. And so a bag like this, you don't even know it exists until you start digging into vintage, the concept of vintage, pull string, even this strap is leather, and then you open it like a harmonica. The inside is gorgeous. It is in gros grain, which is the same gros grain that they use for Chanel bags. So you can see this kind of silky texture. This one has the Christian Lacroix logo. You know we love our Christian Lacroix. He doesn't work anymore. I mean, he does something for Desigual, which is like so sad. But he doesn't have his own brand anymore. And the other side has the Made in logo. Well, anyway, you see it made in leather, made in Italy, genuine leather. So something as exceptional as this, that seems also really 24 karat gold plated, Christian Lacroix's sun logo, metal, and then check this out. This is classic Christian Lacroix. Listen to the squishiness of the leather. It is a gorgeous piece. It's a very robust leather, and it has just this one strap, right? So when you close it, now something like this, first of all, nobody produces bags like this anymore. At least this type of style or design isn't popular. And then you wear it like that. Well, technically on this side, if you want that. So a bag like this, and here we get to the point, a bag like this, you don't even know it exists. You by accident stumble upon it if you are constantly looking for vintage or used bags online or in thrift stores. If you have some sort of routine about, no matter, you know, I mean, as I said, I do prefer to buy my Chanel bags new in the boutiques, but I still have this routine of checking up at least once a week. I go on my secondhand websites, I look through them just to be informed about what else is out there. In terms of, I don't even type in a brand, I would just maybe type in 90s, vintage, 80s, whatever, just brown leather, something. I would always use different keywords just to keep looking, just to keep informed, just to keep finding new things that might surprise me. This one, I found this one several years ago, back in 2017, I want to say. I was very surprised. Of course, I knew Christian Lacroix. I just never knew about this particular bucket bag, which is very Christian Lacroix. I mean, this whole Baroque little detailing, the Baroque sun, the gold hardware with the brown and the black. And then the way that they constructed this bottom, it's not square, it's a rectangular shape, but it has, you see, it has this protrusion, it's elevated. It's literally like, it's so bizarre. And it's rounded on the sides. This is not a simple construction. Nobody would make a bag like this today. It just takes too much time. So, and I discovered this shape and I was like, oh my God, what the hell? Yes, yes. So when you are on the lookout always, and you always should be, then stuff like this comes your way, and it's like a little miracle, like a little bag miracle. And for the sake of that experience and miracle, I would always say hunt down used or even vintage, right? Because it will surprise you, because we're so saturated with influencers posting all that crap online every season, every week, because the brands send them out the newest bag or this or that, and it's just like you always kind of are brainwashed into thinking the newest is the best. And you know the name of every single bag that's being churned out by these brands now, but you already forgot the name of the bag that came out maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it was fantastic, but it's just forgotten now because there's just too much being produced all the time. That's why I say you should always exercise. Well, this is just my opinion. Exercise yourself, your searching skills. Keep an eye out for stuff that you might have not even known existed, because you might be very pleasantly surprised. And the more you know, and the more you learn about this stuff, and the less you are prone to keep being victim of the FOMO and brand marketing of today, you know. And you might just wake up one day and realize, you know what, the new bags they're bringing out now, meh. Which brings me to a point that John had mentioned before we started the video, saying like, well, you know, everything used to be better quality back in the day than it is today. They had more time. They weren't churning out 10 collections a year. They were doing their 2 to 4 collections a year. The designers actually had more time to develop designs, to develop structure, to develop patterns, to look for the proper materials to actually manufacture these bags, and to choose the proper materials that they like the most. Now they have no time. You have no time. You got to churn out a collection every 2 months. So you have no time to really design anything well, because there's no time to try stuff out. There's no time. And the suppliers of these materials, there's no time to look for the right supplier. It's that supplier, you've been working with that supplier knows you have no time to look for somebody else. So that supplier gives you what they give you, and you got to work with what you get. And that's why everything is collapsing. The whole system is collapsing. Everything is going faster and faster and faster, which doesn't mean better. It just means you have no more time to really look into things. And that's why I say stop for a second. Stop turning on the Oompa Loompa influencers on Instagram. Instead, go do your research about vintage and older things. You might get surprised. So, verdict. As we've seen through this little tiny excursion I made into a couple of my bags, there are instances where it's better to buy new, and there are instances when it's better to buy used / vintage. And I would stay flexible on that. I would stay flexible on that. I would say certainly some things only used and other things only new. That's my opinion. Let me get to a couple of your chats and see what you guys have to say. The system is collapsing. The crap quality coming out of Gucci and Louis is ghastly, says Andrew. Sobe says, I bought a leather Prada bag from 1990s in excellent condition for $375. The bag is beautiful in black. As I said, everything is possible. You know what I mean? We should never rule one thing out. Speaking of vintage, I'm going vintage shopping later today. Oh, Stephanie, let us know next week what you got. Pixel Hexa says, and there's the bonus of being able to say it's lacroix, sweetie darling. Yes, of course, very ab-fab. I know, that's one of the biggest reasons I went for Christian Lacroix to begin with. It's because of Edwina Monsoon. Fana Chess says, I recently purchased a yellow Louis Vuitton Epi leather backpack, Gobelin, and I love it. I love bucket bags, says Stephanie. Bibi says, 'tis the season for bag miracles. Hallelujah. Tyler says, Lacroix is a far too forgotten about brand. They have so many great clothing, jewelry, and leather goods at great prices, also great sunglasses and great perfumes. Leslie says, yes, the collector, you are talking my language. Cinderella, it's a beautiful bag. Thank you so much. Gwenly says, yeah, bucket bags will come back in style again. It's better to buy used than new. When the trend comes back, they jack up the price. They definitely do. That's an example for this little guy here. I mean, I got it for a steal of a price. And bam, 1 year later, skyrocketed. Debbie says, gorgeous bag. Thank you. Gwen says, nice bucket bag for putting LaCroix drinks in it. But they're not from Christian Lacroix, though, the drinks. Christina K, oh, it's so pretty, the Lacroix bag. It's a cutie. Oh, I'm glad you guys are liking it. Gwen says, wow, look at the leather, the shape cut out. Yeah. Jesus says, that Lacroix is gorge. Thanks, guys. And also got it for like, I don't know, 40 bucks, 30 bucks. Like, nobody wanted it. And I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah, it's a beautiful bag. I purchased vintage Lady Dior just so I can dye it the perfect color. That's also an interesting point, Gwen. Do it yourself, DIY. You can also buy a vintage and or a used bag and color it or just play with it. You know, if the budget is right and you think you got it for a really good deal and you want to exercise and learn some techniques on coloring leather or fabrics, why not? DIY is a great way to go, you know. That's also a great point. That's also a good reason to buy used if you find it for a good price, because then you could paint it all over again. I mean, buying brand new full price and then painting over that, you gotta be really conceptually like, I want to do this and I got the money for it, then, you know. But otherwise, I would also prefer buying used and then modifying that rather than buying new and modifying it. Andrew says, I really hope people stop buying and these price increases stop and that the garish brands like Gucci, Fendi, Louis, etc. enter the fashion cemetery until they stick to the classics. Rest in peace. Tyler says, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Fendi Spy resurgence once big bags are back, and they will be back. Trust you me. Andrew says, Galliano, king. Yeah, John Galliano is amazing. Great point again about sitting in the stockroom, says Leslie Craven. I'm telling you. Technically speaking, that means that they're used. Andrew says, vintage boundary line is 2005 to 2006. The Years in the Wind finally blew away Nicole Richie and the Olsen twins. LOL, before that is vintage. Oh my God, you guys. That's the one I got with the shiny gold hardware in red. I don't know which one you're talking about. Anyway, Gwen says, if it has dust on it, it's used. LOL. Well, then all of them are used. Andrew says, the new releases take away from the vision, the history, the class, the elegance, the subtle beauty of the brand. Chanel versus the bold, loud, obnoxious, hypebeast, garish craze of the moment. Cap says, about to buy Balenciaga motorcycle bag to be Nicole Richie and the Olsen twins. Those were like early 2000s. I think the luxury brands are shooting themselves in the foot, says Liz in the ATL, with constantly releasing new collections. Part of the allure of luxury goods that I own is that they aren't trendy. Sobe says, I just purchased a mini reissue for almost the same price at the boutique because it's a color from 2 seasons ago and won't be able to find it again. I had to pull the trigger. And it kind of hurts, Sobe, in that case, because it's from 2 seasons ago. And we know that if it's a 2 seasons ago Chanel 255 mini, was it a 255 mini we're talking about? Mini reissue, sorry. Yeah, 255 mini from 2 seasons ago. That means that you actually paid for it $700 more than it cost 2 seasons ago. That's also insane to think about when it comes to Chanel in particular. Victoria H says, as for new releases, less is more. I completely agree with you, Victoria. Gwenly says, yeah, you buy the bag and then it's past season already. It already is, because by the time it hits the stores, they're already advertising 2 collections after that one, and you're kind of, nothing is new anymore. Everything is obsolete before it even gets to the stores. DVA says, yes, oversaturation is a turnoff. Ew, it totally is. I agree with you. I agree with you. Wendy says, what I'm secretly hunting for that is very specific is a Chanel modern medium with 8 quilts across and with gold-plated hardware. I've only found it in patent, which is a no-go for me. Interesting point. I have to look into that though. Leslie says, only a celebrity or rich can keep up with the new collections. I think Louis Vuitton releases even more than Chanel and I can't even keep up. They really do. And it's just, it's no fun anymore. You know, there's no pleasure in it anymore. Everything just feels like, oh, another bag. Oh, another one. Oh, another. It loses the luster. It loses that luxury luster of craving for something because you're just like not craving for it anymore. Like, oh, this is a cute bag. Let's see what they bring out tomorrow. It's like dating apps, in particular in the gay community, because you never end up having a girlfriend or a boyfriend because you always think the next best thing is around the corner and you just kind of keep on doing one-night stands instead of really committing to a relationship. The same is happening to the bags. It's literally the same thing. Literally the same thing in the luxury community. This is a really good comparison, actually. Should have said that at the beginning of the video because by the end of the video, we lose like almost 90% of the viewers. Nobody sticks around till the end. Aisha says, I love how FOMOing is now a verb. Yeah, it should totally enter the dictionary, FOMOing. Paris Samara says, it's a total FOMO snowball mess. Yes, the mini bags are ew, says somebody, I didn't see who. DVA says, someone is trying to sell a Louis Frank Gary clutch for $22,000. Are they insane? That's crazy. But then they have that Franco Gary aspect of the architect on top of that to kind of use that. Yeah, that little asymmetric, you know, like his buildings are also built the way that he built that little bag. I mean, I get it, but like, no, that's way too overpriced. Andrew says, also vintage Tom Ford Gucci was everything. The trash Gucci pops out nowadays. No innovation, no class, no style, just garish. Listen, the ATL says, unfortunately, I have bought several used, but like new Louis Vuitton items for more than retail. What if these are items I won't be able to get from the boutique? FOMO wins. I covered Dacob's Chanel bags, such amazing looks into the history, says Andrew. Thank you so much. You know, I didn't show you this little beauty. You know, the return of the clutch, but I'm telling you, the 255 clutch, the love of my life. I actually use these two more than my other Chanel bags on chains, just because they, I don't know, just it works better for me for now, but I still love my bags with chains as well. But anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thumb up this video, subscribe to my channel. Become a member today, push that join button, gain access to extra perks, join me on Patreon, superdacob all spelled together. Follow me on, little brooch is shifting, follow me on my Chanel Instagram profile called Coco Chanel is in my house, all spelled together, dedicated to my Chanel collection. Other than that, follow me on Coco Chanel's, dedicated to Coco Chanel's live Instagram called Coco Chanel Privé, all spelled together, or my Super Dacob Insta, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Love you all. See you soon. Take care. Bye. Mwah.